Welcome back to Pause and Respond. I'm Josua Rine, licensed professional counselor. And today we're talking about something that confuses a lot of people about themselves. Why they stay calm until suddenly they don't. Why they tolerate things for weeks, months, sometimes even years, but then eventually explode emotionally over something that appears small. And afterward, they sit there thinking, why did I react like that? Why did I lose control? Maybe they think to themselves that wasn't even that serious. But most emotional explosions are not caused by a single moment. They're caused by accumulation. Accumulated frustration, accumulated resentment, disappointment, accumulated emotional suppression. Because delayed expression creates emotional pressure. And emotional pressure eventually seeks to be released. And that's what we're going to unpack today. Because many people are not overreacting to a single event. They are finally reacting to something they never addressed honestly beforehand. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming emotions disappear just because they are not expressed immediately. But they don't. The nervous system still records emotionally important experiences even when the mouth stays quiet. And that's really important to understand. You can suppress an expression, but you can't erase impact. Someone disrespects you and you let it go. Someone disappoints you, you minimize it. Somebody might even cross a boundary and you stay quiet. If something hurts you, you might even tell yourself it's not a big deal. But internally, your nervous system has registered all of those experiences. And eventually, unresolved emotional experiences begin stacking together psychologically. Most people are carrying far more emotional buildup than they even realize. And this doesn't mean they're weak. It's because they've adapted to suppressing themselves. Delayed expression usually begins as emotional self-protection. People think, this isn't the right time, maybe I don't want conflict, I don't want to upset anybody, maybe they believe I'll deal with it later, or I don't even know how to explain what I'm feeling. And sometimes those pauses are healthy. The immediate emotional reaction is always not the wisest choices. But when processing turns into chronic suppression, the nervous system never fully resolves any of those experiences. Now, emotional tension stays active internally. And this is especially common in people who tend to avoid conflict, who tend to lean towards people-pleasing, have a big fear of rejection, or maybe even pride themselves on being emotionally controlled. Externally, they appear calm, but internally, they are accumulating pressure. And eventually, even small situations become activating large emotional reactions. And that's because the nervous system is no longer reacting only to the present moment. It's reacting to the buildup in addition to that moment. And this is why people suddenly explode over dishes in the sink. Maybe it's a text message or the tone of someone's voice, feeling or being interrupted, or one small disagreement. The current situation, the moment of the explosion, may be small, but emotionally, the nervous system is responding to accumulated unresolved pressure that's underneath that small moment. And that's why the emotional intensity feels disproportionate in the moment. And this confuses people because logically they knew this shouldn't have affected me this much. But the emotionality, the reaction, is connected to far more in the present moment. The nervous system remembers resolved frustration. And that's important. People think suppressed emotion just disappears. It does not. Suppressed emotions become amplified over time because they remain unresolved internally. And this is why emotional suppression often creates emotional volatility later. Some people have built their identity around being the calm one, the understanding one, the patient one, the one who always appears emotionally controlled. And while those qualities can absolutely be healthy, some people use them just to justify emotional self-abandonment. They become so focused on managing everyone else's comfort that they stop honoring their own emotional reality. This creates one thing. Over time, this creates simple resentment. Because the nervous system eventually notices and then communicates that my feelings are never being addressed. And this is one of the hidden reasons emotionally responsible people sometimes become emotionally exhausted. They're simply carrying too much silently. And eventually that silence turns into bitterness. Not because they're bad people, but because suppressed emotional needs eventually become emotional pain. Now here's something important people rarely talk about. Emotional explosions often feel like they're relieving temporarily. But they're not healthy. They're just simply relieving. Because the pressure is finally released. People finally said something. They finally reacted. They finally stopped suppressing. And for a brief moment, the nervous system experiences release from accumulated tension. But after that release comes guilt, regret, shame, maybe even confusion. Because the explosion was not actually honest communication. It was just accumulated emotional overflow, and that's different. And that's why suppression and explosion are actually connected patterns. People think that they're opposites, but they're usually part of the same cycle. It looks like suppress, 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 accumulate, explode, regret, repeat. And that cycle emotionally exhausts the people that are doing it and the people that are living around it. Emotionally healthy people still pause, but they don't bury things indefinitely, and that's the difference. Healthy processing says, I need time to understand what I'm feeling. Suppression says, I'm going to pretend I'm not feeling this. Processing creates clarity. Suppression creates pressure. Processing eventually moves towards additional communication, while suppression moves towards accumulation. And many people confuse the two because externally, they can look similar at first. But internally, they create very different outcomes. And this is why the pause and respond framework matters so much, because instead of reacting impulsively or suppressing endlessly, you pause internally, intentionally. You slow down long enough to understand what is actually happening inside of you. And then instead of delaying that expression until emotional overflow occurs, you communicate earlier and more clearly. Not aggressively, but more clearly. That may sound something like, honestly, I think I've been carrying frustration around, or I didn't fully communicate how much that affected me, or I don't want to keep building internally. Maybe somebody says something like, I need to address something before the resentment grows. That kind of communication, it prevents emotional accumulation. And preventing accumulation matters more than trying to recover from explosions later. Because emotional pressure is easier to address than after it's compounded for months. A lot of people think honesty creates conflict, but healthy honesty actually reduces emotional volatility over the long term. Because clarity prevents that accumulation, and accumulation is what creates the explosive emotional pressure. And this is why emotionally healthy communication is not about saying something immediately. It's about addressing things honestly before emotional buildup becomes emotional overload. Being able to do so is a sign of maturity. It's not silence. It's not emotional shutdown. It's not waiting until our nervous system collapses under pressure. But it's clarity, consistency, and honesty. Now, our goal here is not to become emotionless. The goal is becoming emotionally honest early enough that emotions do not have to explode later. Because the nervous system functions best when emotional experiences are processed consistently instead of suppressed chronically. And emotionally healthy people do not avoid discomfort forever. They learn how to tolerate honest conversations without abandoning themselves in the process. And that changes relationships. It changes people's mental health. It changes their self-respect. It has the potential to change everything about them. Now today I want you to pay attention to where you're delaying expression. What frustrations are quietly building internally in you right now? What conversations have you been avoiding? Where are you saying I'm fine to people while pressure continues to accumulate underneath the surface? And what might happen if you address something honestly before the resentment grows long enough to explode later? Awareness is where emotional clarity begins. I challenge you to seek it and reflect on it. And if this episode connected with you, the new book, Pause and Respond, The Honesty Advantage, goes much deeper into these concepts: emotional honesty and communication, emotional regulation and resentment, and learning how to communicate clearly without becoming reactive. You can get the books, word books, podcast resources, coaching information all at pauseandrespond.com. And if this episode has helped you, share it with someone who keeps everything inside until eventually they emotionally explode. Because delayed expression does not remove emotional pressure. It just usually increases it. This is Pause and Respond. Less reaction, more choice.